You know those quiet moments when the loudest voice is in your head? Yeah, we talk about those over here. Whether it's the stress of doing too much, not feeling enough, or just wondering, what's the point? This podcast is your gentle check in. We're not here to have it all figured out, just to be real. Let's get into it. I'm so glad you answered the phone because I got something to tell you.
Hey y'all, welcome back to episode 2 of my podcast. How y'all been? How y'all doing? I hope y'all are having a good day wherever you guys are listening to this. And yeah, let's jump into it. For those of you who are listening who don't know, I am a licensed clinical social worker associate. And recently, as in yesterday, I took the test to become fully licensed, which is called the ASWB exam. And if you know about the exam, you know the exam is really, really hard to pass. And I've taken it 3 times now. I failed 3 times now. First time I failed was April of 2024. I failed by 38 points. Yeah, I said 38 points. Okay. I felt so bad that I was just like, I really don't know if therapy is for me. Like being a therapist. Yeah. So January of 2025 comes around and I take this test again. And I fail again. Okay. I fail again. And this time I fail by 30. Yay for the 8-point decrease. And at that point, y'all, I was over it. I did not want to take it a third time, but I knew I had to take it a third time, but I really didn't want to take it a third time because I was already trying to pivot into a different career, and I just kept getting like blocks kind of sort of in a sense because everything was surrounded about around having your LCSW. So it's like, well, if you want to do this, you're going to have to be able to be fully licensed, which means you're going to have to take this test yet again. And not just take the test, y'all, but I'm going to tell y'all the process when it comes to taking the test. So I have all my hours, which I have to get 3,000 clinical hours. I have my hours. And in order to take the test, the first thing you have to do is you have to pay $40 to the board, and that pretty much is your approval to take the test. So with that, you send them like a bunch of information or whatever. And I feel like what they do is just run like your license number, make sure you don't have like no infractions or anything wrong with your license, any sanctions, like all of that stuff. And then once you get your approval back, then you can register to take the test. And with registering to take the test, you have to pay $260 every time you fail. And you have to pay that $40 every time you fail. And know that $40 does not go towards that $260. Nothing goes towards it, okay? So, this third time, y'all, when I took it and I failed, y'all, so let me tell you, okay, so let me go back. Let me backtrack. Okay, so the first 2 times I took the test, it was with the company PSI that they had, and they would print off like right then and there if you passed or failed. They printed like your score off, right? And your score pretty much shows you what percentage you got right in each category, right? Because there's 4 content areas for the test. So now that they switched back to person, this company, they don't print nothing out. You have to wait until it shows up on your ASWB account. But it does show you pass or fail on the screen. Okay, so obviously mine said, failed or whatever. And because of how bad I failed the first 2 times, I was already in my mind thinking, before I even saw the results, I was already in my mind thinking like, I'm definitely going to have to find a different career, because if I don't pass this test by September of 2026, I would have to start completely over. I would have to get a new license and, start all my hours over, which will put me back 2 years. And I'm not trying to have that, y'all. That's why I was really hoping and praying that this third time was a charm, and this third time was it. But y'all, I know I'm dragging it because I ain't even told y'all about the third time I took the test. Okay. So third time I took the test, like I said, which was yesterday, and y'all, I needed 102 to pass. Okay? I need 102 to pass. That was my passing score, was 102, right? I got 100. I got 100, y'all. I failed that test by 2 points. I failed by 2 points. I didn't fail by 30. I didn't fail by 28. I didn't fail by what I failed literally by 2 points. And as I was driving and I logged into that account and I seen that the results were up, because I didn't know what my percentage was. I didn't know how bad I failed. I just know that I failed. When I seen that thing said, you needed 102 to pass and you answered 100 correctly. Y'all, I busted out crying. Like I was so hurt. I busted out crying and I was like, I could have passed. I failed by 2. I could have passed. Y'all. And baby, that right there was so freaking heartbreaking, because to go from failing from 38 to failing to 30 to failing by 2, I'm like, all right, so where's Ashton Cooker? Like, I'm checking the website, making sure it ain't no glitch, like making sure they like, oh, we, misscored hers, or checking my email to make sure, everything. No, I ain't getting none of that. It was, every time I checked it, it said 102 and you answered 100 correctly. And I was so hurt. I was so hurt. And me, I'm already like over it in a sense, So I called, I sent the picture to like my supervisor. I sent it to my fiance. Like I sent it to like my friends, my close family or whatever. And everybody's reaction, y'all, was literally the same. Everybody was my supervisor though. But everybody else was like, damn. And I was like, that's when like reality hit again. Like, damn, you was right there. But everybody told me, positive words and, things like that. A lot of stuff that helped. And it's just like, y'all, I don't know how to feel, but just to know that I was 2 points away from becoming fully licensed on my third attempt was just like, oh my goodness. Like literally, like, oh my goodness. But the message that I got out of it from, listening to everybody's advice and, just sitting and praying, talking to God and things like that was, I started acknowledging success even through failure. And what I mean by that is, did y'all just hear what I said though? Like, that's what I mean by it. Like 38 to 30 to 2. What? In that 30, I failed in January of 2025. I took it again in July of 2025 and only failed by 2. That time span is crazy to me because I'm thinking about all the stuff that went on. I'm thinking about all the stuff that we did, all the different phases of life that I went through in those 6 months is crazy. And to get on and to get, and to do the test and only fail by 2. What? I know my stuff, okay? I know my stuff. That was the most confident I ever felt in myself in a while. Which is crazy. But acknowledging success even through failure, and the acknowledgement that I got was, I was serious about dropping that A off. I was so serious about dropping that A off. The way my study habits were, and just looking back on everything, like acknowledging the things, the growth, acknowledging, every positive thing that everybody said to me, like acknowledging the confidence that I had in myself, acknowledging the fact that, yeah, I might have failed, but I improved in so many areas. This last time studying, y'all, I really understand social work so much more. I understand social work at a level where I really, even though I have the degrees in social work, and I have the associate's license, but that studying and seeing, the results from the test, I really feel like a social worker. Like studying, I feel like I've learned where I want to be at in social work, or what sounds interesting for me to do in social work outside of therapy. But all in all, acknowledging your success even through failure, just pretty much to me means that, there's just a little bit more that I need to learn. Like God is just like, you there. You on the right track. You there. I just need you to learn X, Y, and Z. And y'all, when I got home, I typed in my phone a bunch of stuff that I seen on the test that, I'm going to go back and study, regardless of if it's going to be on the test again or not, because, the tests are different each time you take it. But applying what I seen on the test, to all the information that I already know, this fourth time, baby, we ain't gonna talk about it. We ain't gonna talk about it. I'm just making an episode about it. I'm just gonna tell y'all through the episode. But all in all, y'all, make sure that y'all are acknowledging your success even when you fail at something, because what's going to continue to motivate you, what's going to continue to allow you to walk in your purpose even with failure, is acknowledging your success, acknowledging the small things, acknowledging, things that you did different. Maybe routines were different, maybe you studied more, whatever. Acknowledging your success even through failure. I know I said that a lot through this podcast, and that's going to be the title of the podcast. But that's all I wanted to share with y'all. I'll see y'all in episode 3.